Good morning and welcome to Shop Talk Live. My name is Jeremy Kemp. I am the Director of Products here at Mathews Company, and I am coming to you live from Mathews Company in Crystal Lake, Illinois, the grain dryer capital of the world. And on the phone today, I've got a handful of grain dryer experts on a panel to help discuss our topic. They are MC's own Bill Wood and Nick Close. And coming to us from Goodhue, Minnesota, we've got a very special guest from Lodemeyer's, one of the top MC dealers in our entire network. We have Troy Voth. So for those of you who are familiar with Shop Talk Live, you know this is our educational streaming video sessions. This is the third session, and this session is about the advantage of working with Mathews Company. So that sounds overtly salesy for an educational series, doesn't it? So let me tell you why we chose this topic. We chose this topic because a grain dryer is one of the most expensive and complicated pieces of your grain handling, drying, and storage system. And this is a question that we frequently get. You're going to make a major investment when you purchase a grain dryer, and I believe that you should know a little bit about who is producing your grain dryer and who you're buying your grain dryer from. So let's go ahead and talk a little bit about Mathews Company specifically. Mathews Company has been around for a very long time. What's that do for you? Well, it ensures you several things. A, it means that parts are going to be available for a long time. It means we have a wealth of experience in grain drying. As a matter of fact, we bill ourselves as the grain dryer experts. And the primary reason for that is grain drying is our sole focus. Our engineering staff works solely on grain drying. It's not an ancillary product in a larger product line. It's what we worry about each and every day. Our production facility is optimized for grain drying, and our entire staff understands the criticality of keeping a dryer up and running during the fall harvest. And like I mentioned, we've been around a long time. Let's define that specifically. We opened the doors in 1954. And our first grain dryer rolled off the line in 1957. This company was founded by BC Matt Mathews as a family-owned company, and the family still owns the company today. Now, what's that do for you as an end user? It means you're not just a number. You're part of the broader MC family when you buy an MC grain dryer. It also means that the family puts their name on the product, and when you put your name on a product, I can assure you, you're not going to roll out anything that would be substandard. A few more things about MC. How about our location? I said we're located in the grain dryer capital of the world. Why would I call Crystal Lake, Illinois the grain dryer capital of the world? Because we're here, of course, but not just that. We're ideally located in Illinois, in the heart of the Corn Belt. We're located specifically in Northeast Illinois. When I say Northeast Illinois, what do you think? You think Chicago, right? We are about an hour away from Chicago. That is true. That puts us in the heart of one of America's primary industrial belts. That gives us great access to vendors. I know vendors would be willing to ship products anywhere in the world. What good is it to be an hour away from them or closer? I'll tell you what good it does us. It gives us direct access to their personnel. We get to meet, talk with, and deal with these people in a way that you might not get if you were located in a further away setting. Additionally, we might be near Chicago, and I know you're farmers. You're saying, why do I care that you're in suburbia? We are not suburbanites. Our roots grow deep in farming. We are in an agricultural county. You can look it up. McHenry County, Illinois may border on suburban Chicago, but we still have big agricultural roots. As a matter of fact, the Mathews family still owns a farm only a few miles down the road from our factory. So if you're going to produce grain dryers, and nothing but grain dryers, like I've mentioned, you better have a full line of grain dryers. So let's talk a little bit about our grain drying line. Now, I'm not going to go into depth on each dryer series. We're actually going to do separate Shop Talk Live sessions on each grain dryer series. As a matter of fact, our second Shop Talk Live focused specifically on the Eco series, the first series that I show up here on the screen. That's our on-farm, low-profile dryer, and we've got capacities that range from just over 300 bushels an hour all the way up to well over 1,000 bushels an hour. That's 5 points In the case of the 1330 I show on the screen, that would be an all heat operation. These dryers can run all heat or heat and cool. They can be filled with an auger. Again, that's our on-farm low profile series of dryers. Sticking with low profile dryers, we've got our next generation expandable dryers. These are the completely redesigned legacy dryers that the Legacy series came about from the 75 and 80 series. So it's got a long history, and it was completely redesigned with new controls, fans, and burners, and has been very well received. You can dry capacities starting at about 750 bushels an hour, all the way up to over 5,000 bushels an hour, depending on your mode of operation, and that's at 5-point removal. Now, one more point. I mentioned that the next generation Legacy series is the redesigned Legacy series. Well, the traditional or old school Legacy series is still available. Now, why would that be available when we've redesigned and improved the dryers so much? Well, one obvious reason is that these are expandable. So we need to make expandable mod sections available to all of our customers that bought the dryers in prior years. So if we're going to continue to manufacture expansion mods, we might as well make the dryer available, especially given a few key facts. The Legacy series goes all the way back to the 75 and 80 series dryers, all the way back to 1976. There are literally thousands of these dryers across North America in operation, and they are absolute beasts. They are very well liked. We may have made improvements to the dryer, but we have customers that say, I don't want a new improved dryer. I ran that dryer for 20 years, and I want another dryer just like the one I already have, and we're happy to accommodate that request. So if you've got a 975 and you're looking for another 975, you can get that dryer. It'll just be called an L1350 today. Be sure to let your dryer dealer know that Jeremy said you can get the dryer. Not all of our dealers are even pushing the traditional Legacy, because the new style Legacy, which I would also implore you to look at, is that much improved. So moving on from profile dryers, let's talk about what's often considered the bread and butter of MC's line, our modular tower series dryers. We make 10-foot diameter and 12-foot diameter modular tower dryers. These are modular in that they ship to your farm in modular sections, 1 or 2 days, depending on the dryer size and the length of the day, basically. The capacities in our modular towers range from around 750 bushels an hour all the way up to basically 3,000 bushels an hour at 5-point removal. And being tower dryers, of course, I'm referring to heat and cool operation. If you need even more capacity, we've got commercial series dryers that range all the way up to 5,000 bushels an hour. They're 18-foot diameter dryers. They're built by a dedicated build crew on site. And I know that oftentimes MC is seen as kind of an on-farm dryer company. 5,000 bushels an hour not only takes care of 99% of the producers across North America, those dryers land in a lot of commercial settings. So 5,000 bushels an hour is something to keep in mind if you're looking for a fairly large dryer. MC still has a fit for you. Now, our newest dryer series is our Delta Series mixed flow dryers. This is our 3rd year of production, 2nd year of full production. These dryers have been very well received, and their sizes range all the way up to, once again, in excess of 5,000 bushels an hour. Mixed flow has been around for a very long time. In the last few years, it's really started to gain popularity, especially in the Eastern Corn Belt. So if you're curious as to why would I want a mixed flow dryer, take a look at our YouTube channel and go all the way back to the first session of Shop Talk Live, and we talk about which is the right dryer for my operation, and we actually compare and contrast mixed flow versus tower, and why people seem to be kind of drawn towards the mixed flow dryer, especially in the last few seasons. So all of our dryers have some distinct advantages. I'm going to go over some key advantages, and then we'll talk about them in depth. And these advantages apply to basically the full MC dryer line. So let's start with the key components of a dryer: the fans, the burner, and the controls. Well, all of those are top of the line when it comes to MC. We have commercial grade inline centrifugal fans in most of our dryers. If it doesn't have an inline centrifugal fan, it has a centrifugal fan. And we'll have Bill Wood, our on-staff fan expert, explain that to you a little further in a moment. We also have a proprietary burner. It's made by, I mentioned our relationships with vendors, it's made by a local vendor specifically for MC and designed specifically to fit in our dryers. It's the Mathews Midco burner, and Nick's going to talk a little bit about customers' experiences with the burners out in the field. Our control system is homegrown. We engineer and design it right here at Mathews Company. It's the Pinnacle 2020 control system, and it is by far the best control system in the entire industry. And that control system, coupled with AccuDry, which is our implementation of Dryer Master technology, fully integrated into our Pinnacle 2020 control, giving you seamless integration with the industry's best moisture-based controls, is why we partnered with AccuDry and why it's a distinct advantage to MC. Then I'll give you a brief introduction and discussion about MC Trax, our remote monitoring and control feature that's available on MC dryers, and we'll wrap it up with, last but not least, a discussion around our local MC dealers, who are the best dryer dealers in the industry, and we will let our top tier MC dryer dealer, Troy Voth, have a conversation with you about why he sells MC. So let's get started with fans. I want to pass this on to Bill Wood so he can talk a little bit about the advantage of the MC fan selection and why you would want specific fans in a specific application. Go ahead, Bill, and tell us what the advantages of inline centrifugal fans and other options would be.
Well, good morning. The fan choices that we have for Mathews Company dryers are inline centrifugal fans and standard centrifugal fan. Inline centrifugal fans are very interesting. Each basic style of fan has its own pluses and minuses, and farmers have experience with these different types of fans on the farm already, specifically axial fans versus centrifugal. An axial fan works very well and is an efficient fan in a low static pressure environment. So farms that use this type of fan on a bin, if it's a short bin and it has low static pressure from the grain height being lower, it's very efficient. The downside to an axial fan is that it's very loud. You can lose your hearing from axial fans if they're that bad. So we don't produce any axial fan dryers, or at least we don't produce dryers for sure that are very loud. All our dryers are very quiet. Centrifugal fans are designed for high static pressure. So on a farm, if you go to a bin and you're aerating a bin that is tall, you will have to use a centrifugal fan just to be able to push air up through all that high back pressure, that high static pressure. Centrifugal fans inherently are also very quiet. So we have used centrifugals for quite a while, and we continue to use a centrifugal on our old style Legacy, and we use a centrifugal on our Eco series. They're very, very good fans. The inline centrifugal, which we use on all of our towers and on our next generation Legacy dryer, are really special fans. It's an inline centrifugal, so it's centrifugal in that it has a turbine style blade rather than a paddle fan style blade. This is one of the reasons it's quiet. It also doesn't have to make that 90-degree turn that a centrifugal squirrel cage type fan has to turn. So that's why it's an inline centrifugal. The air just goes straight in. The fan curve on an inline centrifugal fan is very flat. And what that means is basically it handles low static pressure quite well, and it handles high static pressure quite well. So it works across the line, and it is also very quiet. So that's almost quite surprising how quiet these fans are when they're in operation, and they function really well. So they're not the cheapest fans to purchase and use, but we feel that they are the best fans, really, to have on your operation and to live with, because you're not going to need hearing protection when you're walking around them, and they're going to work really great in a lot of different scenarios for us. So that's why we're big. Pardon the pun, we're big fans of inline centrifugal.
That's a great explanation, Bill. So thank you for that. And like Bill mentioned, most of our line uses the inline centrifugal fans. A few models still use centrifugal fans, but we've gone completely away from axial fans. And I believe, again, that's because our focus on grain drying. We buy the best components available for our dryers. And speaking of best components available, let's talk a little bit about the Mathews Midco proprietary burner. I mentioned our location being near Chicago and having access to a large number of manufacturers and vendors. This was one of the situations where we were able to take advantage of that. If you go back about a decade, we were working on a redesign project. We were working on a dryer redesign project, and Mathews at the time used a lot of Maxon burners, and I have nothing bad to say about Maxon burners. We had intended to use Maxon burners going forward. They're good burners. However, Maxon is a big company, part of an even bigger global conglomerate. Getting information from Maxon was a little bit problematic. We could not get anybody on the phone. We could order Maxon burners through a catalog. We could order their off-the-shelf supply. We might even be able to have some modular piece customized to some extent, but at the end of the day, that was about as much customer service as we could get. So in the process of doing some internet research, our engineering team came across some specifications and some information from a company called Midco. They're located in the Chicago area. We called them up. They're smaller, they're close. At the time, they did not make any burners for agricultural applications, so they were very interested. They actually sent a burner engineer up to meet with our engineering staff. I think our engineers are pretty specific in that they're working on grain dryers only. This guy's life is burners, so talk about specific. And they were able to have a conversation and show him the application of the burner in a grain dryer, and Midco was able to basically develop burners that perfectly fit our application. That means that these burners are designed to go in the airflow. Profile plates are a thing of the past. You will not see profile plates in an MC dryer, and you may see those in an old MC dryer because we used to have to try to divert the airflow to fit the burner rather than making the burner fit the application. Huge advantage. I want to actually talk to Nick about how these burners play out in the field, because he's out in the field working with customers and dealers on a daily basis, and he can speak intelligently to the experience our customers have with the Mathews Midco burner. So Nick, please go ahead and tell us a little bit about how well received the burners are.
Good morning. Our new Midco burners are received very well across the board. Number one reason, or one of the reasons, is the port size. They're aluminum and cast iron, so the burners of the past used to have the rust or drilled out of the holes. Well, these got 1/8-inch ports and stainless steel and cast iron construction. The customer is very happy that they don't have to go in and clean out their burners on an annual basis. Along with the way they are sized by Midco and our engineers to fit the fan application is another great advantage. One of the comments that I had from an end user was even from his heat chamber where he was running 200-degree plenum temperature, how pretty and blue the flame is, because it's the burner is sitting perfectly over the top of the fan and gives you a real nice blue flame. And he was also adding a little bit of heat, only 80-degree temperature down in the cooling chamber, and because these burners are low pressure burners, that he had a perfectly blue flame only at 80-degree temperature down in and cooling chamber, and had a real nice, pretty blue flame in both cases. So that's some of the comments that I'm hearing out there about our new Midco burners.
Thank you for that, Nick. So I think we've successfully covered burners. Let's move on to one of the most important features of any grain dryer, and that's the control system. That's what the customer is actually going to interface with on a daily basis when they're operating the dryer. And I'm going to hand this slide over to Bill, so that Bill can talk about how customers view the MC Pinnacle 2020 control system. Go ahead, Bill.
Pinnacle 2020 is the best control on the market. Now, you might say I'm a little partial, that's true, but really, when you compare it head to head with what else is out there, it is very, very easy to learn and very user-friendly. So the two-screen of 2020, two touch screens are very, very, very handy to have. It may have seemed to me initially when I very first learned about it as a dealer, it seemed a little bit like a gimmick. But once I got my hands on it, I found out that as on the screenshot that you're looking at, on the right-hand side, you can see your dryer functioning. On the left-hand side on this screenshot are all the controls for your startup. But that left screen can turn into anything you want. And you can check out your settings. You can check out any of the any other references you have on the dryer that you want to look at. You can look at the history. You can look at alarms. You can look at troubleshooting. You can look at what the PLC is seeing all at the same time, and you don't have to worry about accidentally hitting the wrong button and shutting your dryer down when you're just trying to back out of whatever menu you're in. You always have your dryer up on the right-hand side. So that 2020 control not only is easy to learn, intuitive, easy to operate, it is also built with, of course, very high-quality materials in a cabinet that is sealed, gasketed, weatherproof, and it is, of course, a PLC-based control system and is very heavy-duty and lasts for many years. And we have very, very few failures. In fact, I don't know of any in my territory at all. So the wiring in between the control and the dryer is fairly simple, and actually most of it is made up of the emergency stop switch, which you can see on that cabinet. And there's actually a Cat5e that cable, which is your control cable, which is the communication between the touchscreen and the dryer. And we actually include a spare Cat5e cable with every dryer. So this control system really doesn't have a close comparison on the market.
Thank you for that, Bill. And I want to add one other thing, because you mentioned that when you first saw the two screens and you were working for a dealership at the time, you thought it was a little bit of a gimmick. Now, one thing I'll say is I know part of the logic behind having a dual screen system is redundancy. So if you were to have a failure, and these screens have very low failure rates, but like all electronics, things can happen. If a screen were to fail, you could seamlessly operate the dryer with a single screen. So you do have built-in redundancy, and that was something that was important to us at MC when we were developing this dryer. And now, kind of an extension of our control system is our remote control and monitoring system, MC Trax. Let's start with the ease of setup. This is internet-based. So you have to be able to, you have to have an internet connection to make it work, but do you need an IT guy to make it work? Probably not. Here's what you need to make MC Trax work. You need unrestricted internet at the dryer cabinet. That's it. You plug in an Ethernet cable, this thing phones home, and it works. You don't do any setup on your end. And when I say unrestricted, that's for the guys who do have some sort of IT geek working on the farm occasionally, because if they've added a firewall or done some different things to restrict internet access, they've actually made this more difficult because they've got to open that up. But for 90%, maybe 95% of everybody out there, if you can take an Ethernet cable when you're in your dryer shack and you can plug it into a laptop and you can go online and you can surf the web, then you can plug it into MC Trax. MC Trax will phone home. You'll have a web-based control and monitoring system. And what does that mean? For monitoring, basically you get a dryer overview screen so you can see your incoming moisture, your outgoing moisture, the speed your dryer is operating at, the temperature it's operating at, all the key parameters that you would need to see to give you peace of mind. You can see, of course, alarms. Matter of fact, you can set up alerts where it will text you alarms because you're probably not looking at your phone all day while you're driving your combine, or maybe even trying to sleep at night. But a text message will get your attention. You go to the screen, you see what the alarm is, you take care of it. But we go a step further. We also have remote control. You can do all of the basic functions that you would need to do once the dryer was up and running. I said once it's up and running, you cannot start the dryer remotely, and that's obviously for safety reasons. But you can change the mode of operation. So if you're running in manual, you can switch over to either temperature-based control or moisture-based control, or vice versa. If whatever mode you're running in, you can change the set point, meaning if I'm running in manual, I can speed up and slow down the dryer. If I'm running in a moisture-based control mode or AccuDry, I can change my moisture set point. I can, basically that's what you need to do to run the dryer. You can actually even change your temperature, which is pretty impressive considering it's a remote control application. So that's MC Trax. That's going to give you peace of mind when you're away from the dryer shack. And we've talked a lot about our product features, and we haven't even touched on some of the things like the structural advantages of an MC, like welded bases and things like that. We could spend all day, but I hope that we've impressed upon you that our exclusive focus on grain dryers gives us a distinct advantage and means that we select the best components and engineer and design the best components for a grain dryer. But it's not all about the product. It is also about the people. So let's talk about our local Mathews Company dryer network. I want to pass this on to Nick because I know he's passionate about the dealers he works with, and he can tell you a little bit about our dealer network.
Yeah, Jeremy, this is truly the heart of Mathews Company. Our dealers are not just dedicated salespeople. They're trained technicians. They take their time once a year to come down and go through our MC University to learn about new changes and how to take care of their end users and their dryers. So they're not just dedicated salespeople. They're technicians also. They're backed by MC's engineers that throughout the year are answering the phones, especially during harvest. So our actual dealers get backed up by our own engineers that actually design the dryer. So this is a great advantage for Mathews Company to have such a great dealer network that is really trained to take care of the dryer.
Thank you for that, Nick. And kind of to put an explanation point on your statement, I would like to introduce Troy Voth from Lodemeier's in Goodhue, Minnesota, who's one of the top MC dealers in the nation. And if you're looking for a grain dryer and you're anywhere near or around Southwest Minnesota, you need to consider Lodemeier's. So Troy, can you jump on the line and tell us a few reasons why you like selling and working with Mathews Company?
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Well, me as a salesman, it's pretty easy to sell something when you actually believe you're selling somebody the best thing there is. And I firmly believe that MC is the best dryer out there in the market. MC is a small family-owned business, and the only thing they do is work an MC dryer. So their concentration from the owners to the engineers to the people on the plant is to build us the best dryer there is every day. When I go out and sell a dryer to somebody, I have an extensive line of dryers that'll cover pretty much everybody's needs, from Eco Dryer, which is a smaller horizontal cross flow dryer, to the expandable Legacy Series dryer. We sell a lot of our modular tower dryers, which are extremely easy to put up. And then we have the new Delta dryer, which is our new mixed flow dryer. That has been a great addition to the MC line of dryers. Little story, I dread Mondays. The fall is always tough when you get phone calls from customers because they never tell you how things are going great on their farm. They always want to tell you the problems they got, the things we got to fix, especially on Monday mornings. Last year, I sold one of my first Delta dryers, and I kept getting a phone call from the customer that owned this Delta dryer. And the only thing he called me every morning for is to tell me how much he absolutely loved it and how great it was, the best thing he ever bought in his life. So it was really, really nice getting those phone calls every day from him. The other thing with the Delta dryers, or the whole line of dryers, is that we have the Pinnacle 2020 controller, which I was fortunate to be on the dealer advisory council that helped develop that Pinnacle 2020 controller. I think it's one of the best controllers out there. And when they built it, they integrated the Dryer Master controller into the controller, so it is part of our AccuDry moisture control system, and it works great. Along with that, we backed it up with the MC Trax remote monitoring. And once a farmer has that hooked up to his dryer, they almost go in panic mode if it's not working. So that is great from under the dryer and running the dryer remotely. They absolutely love it. But it's really, really easy for me to sell the dryer with MC because I think it's the best dryer out there, and it makes my job extremely easy.
Thank you, Troy. And it's great to partner with you. And I absolutely love the story about the customer who calls to tell you, thank you for selling me this dryer. That's pretty rare in this industry, pretty rare period, and pretty neat. That's a cool customer and a cool dealer with a cool dryer. So with that, let's put it out to the internet and see if we've got any questions. We've got a whole panel of experts on here, so feel free to ask anything that might come to mind. You can do that through the chat feature on YouTube, or if you're watching on Facebook, you can do that as well. And by the way, speaking of our YouTube channel, please subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're going to be producing these videos, we hope at a rate of about 1 every 2 weeks, 2 a month, somewhere in that neighborhood. And we're going to continue to provide information. As I mentioned previously, some of these videos are going to be very MC specific like today, but we're also going to have some general videos like the first one that we did, which was how to select the correct dryer for your operation. So I believe we have a question from the field.
Yeah, good morning, Jeremy. We have a question about what are the different sizes of mods we can get on the expandable dryers.
Okay, yeah, let's talk about that. So the mod section, you get 8-foot mods. As a matter of fact, if you've got, so we're talking about both Legacy series, both the next generation Legacy or the traditional Legacy, you can get an 8-foot mod. So if you take a look at any literature which is available on our website, and let's say you've got a traditional Legacy, because if you've got a next-gen Legacy, it's a pretty new dryer. We haven't had a lot of call for expansion yet. But if you've got a traditional Legacy dryer and you've got an L1350, you can take a look at the literature that's available on our website, look at what that dryer would look like with an additional 8-foot mod section, and you'll see what that dryer would look like as the next step up, if you will. And do we have any other questions? Okay, I think that answers the questions. We've had a great session today. Thank you for joining us. Hold on just a second. It looks like we've got one more item to discuss.
Yeah, Jeremy, good morning again. We have one more question from our viewers. The question is having to do with the welded bases, and do the competitors out there weld their bases, and just talk a little bit about what that really means.
Sure. So it's going to vary model to model and competitor to competitor, but Mathews Company has across-the-line welded bases, and what's that do for you? Even a heavy bolt-together base, when your dryer's starting and stopping, your discharge auger, your metering rolls, there's going to be some level of flexing, and over time that wears on the structure, it wears on components. So across the board, MC generally has higher steel gauges than what you see in the competitor. Our welded base is a big part of that. Our welded base will probably be the last thing on this planet. If there's a nuclear war, it'll be MC bases and cockroaches. And I'm being serious here. They're literally indestructible. Our Eco line, for a period of time, we went to a bolt-together base in an attempt to save cost, and we built a very heavy quality bolt-together base. If you own one of those Ecos, don't worry, there's absolutely nothing wrong with it. But after a few years of production, we basically decided that one of our signatures is the welded base, and we realized that a welded base is going to be even higher quality than even a heavy-duty bolt-together base for the reasons I mentioned. You're going to get less flexing and twisting over time. I hope that answers the question. All right, well, again, thank you for joining us. Please subscribe to our channel or follow us on Facebook. We're going to have more of these videos coming your way. So, signing off from the grain dryer capital of the world, have a good day.